This is Arif Halaby on your hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS. Welcome to the show, the Total Financial Hour on your place for news, talk, and information. This is KHTS, your hometown station. We're talking about your family's finances, of course, getting out of debt, managing your future. What is it all about when you're trying to plan for the future and then suddenly it arrives and it's different? It's different than you thought, mostly because in our lives these days, I met somebody yesterday who was 68 years old. And number one is, and if you're watching us on Facebook, you'll know why this bothers me. Number one is he has his full head of hair, and all of it is still like light brown. And I said, "Is that the?" I don't know. It took a little while, so don't feel weird about this. But I said, "Your hair's always that color?" I mean, he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Son of a gun, you look like you're 50." Actually, I'm 50, so he looks like he's 40.
Careful, I'm gray on 40.
Yeah. So, and he said, "Listen, I just don't like my job anymore. I want to quit. I've saved up enough money, but I worked my whole life, and I want to keep working." I said, "Oh, okay." He said, "But I just really hate the company I work for. I really hate the job. I don't like my boss. It doesn't work anymore for me, but I don't want to retire. So what can I do? I have enough money to retire." And I thought, well, that's, now we have to figure out what the rest of your life looks like, and we do it in a couple of ways. And one of those ways is to figure out what your purpose is. I guess if you've listened to us long enough, we've talked about your family's purpose or your purpose, and it can change a little bit, right? Because when you're younger, your purpose might be to take care of your family, might be to financially make sure your family works, or that the household stays safe and secure and comfortable as you are maybe a younger person, with babies, young kids. But as time goes on, eventually the kids get older and they move out. And eventually the home is paid off, or your bills are fine, or you've built up enough money. And you have to have a purpose in life. It sounds kind of very, I don't know the right word, almost, I guess, almost as if it's some psychological made-up, as I used to call it, mumbo-jumbo. But I think it's real. I think it's a real thing that a lot of people go through. And I don't know. We'll get into that here in a second. But I want to introduce Jeff Gerard. Jeff is Total Financial Solutions, one of our directors and officers, managers over there at Total Financial Solutions. By the way, my name is Arif Halaby. I don't know if I introduced myself. CEO and president of Total Financial. Jeff, we see this now and again where a lot of people get to places when they retire and they do other things.
It's so interesting you're bringing this up because, just recently I was talking with somebody that was retired for almost 8 years. And they said they were bored out of their mind and went back to work and now has 2 jobs.
Wow.
Working 6, if not 7 days a week. And
probably just as happy as ever.
Happier.
Yeah.
So we all aspire to have all this time and money on our hands, but I think that's kind of a dangerous place especially when you've spent 20, 30, 40 years checking into a place or a career field, and that becomes your definition. Like people will say, what do you do? Oh, I'm and then you fill in
that's
the blank,
right?
And that becomes who you are, part of your personality, your character, and that's defining it. And it's a wonderful thing if somebody can find that, whether it's a calling, a vocation, what have you. But take that away. I mean, you've hit it on the head, Arif. I mean, if you don't have somewhere to be tomorrow at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, you're going to start tapping your fingers and going, what am I supposed to do today? What's my purpose?
And I don't think people realize that when they're planning for their retirement and for their future, because what you're doing instead is you're just following a number. The stock market's up. It's a good day. Life looks like we're on track. Stock market's down. Oh my gosh, it's a horrible day. Life doesn't look good at all. So we follow this, our mood follows the market up and down, and we go down this road of trying to create possibilities, products, services based on a number. And the truth is, at the end of the day, if you don't have multiple sources of not just income when you retire, but multiple places and sources of purpose, it is not just being a grandparent. It is not just being a spouse or a partner. And it is not just being, believe it or not, just a human being. You have to have a life where others count on you. And so what we want to get into today is some of the different part-time jobs that you want to do, that you can do when you retire. Some of you may remember me talking about this before, and I think this is kind of important. If you have a story, you have something you've gone through, give us a call at 888-99-RETIRE, 888-99-RETIRE. We'll be happy to kind of put you on the air, talk to you a little bit, and go over some of the different things that maybe make a difference and have a purpose. Maybe others can learn from you. You know, I think it's important. Maybe you saw this. You saw somebody wither away. They were healthy. They were vibrant. They were great. Then they retire, and they pass away in a very short period of time, or they suddenly become sick, and their life purpose is to live from hair appointment to doctor appointment to pharmacy pickup, and then back circle it again. We see that. And I want your life to be greater than that. Certainly those things are important, right? You got to stop at your doctor. You got to check out get your hair done. I've seen some of you, trust me.
Please don't miss those appointments.
Don't miss it, and get your nails done. I'll see you, both of us, at the nail salon. All right, 15 part-time jobs for retirement. Want to get into some of that. Often a lot of you consult or you freelance and you live in the circle. If you are so prominent, you're so good at what you do, and you live within that world, consider going back and working per diem, project-based, part-time.
And we see a lot of that because it's something that it's already your second nature, right? Especially if you spent a lot of time in this career field, decades and decades that you've spent in this field. You're inherently an expert now. I would hope. If you were any good at your job, you should be close to an expert, if not an expert. And so what will happen is you'll see a lot of this in aerospace. People will retire. They may have bounced around to different companies, defense contracting companies, and then they'll stay on and then they'll consult. And that's a great way to bring in some extra income. Gives you some of that purpose back and makes you still feel relevant and part of that industry. And then you stay up to date instead of trying to separate for 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, an industry, you name it, that can change drastically in 3, 4, 5 years, and then try to go back and act like you didn't skip a beat. Well, consulting, staying fresh, it's probably one of the things that people do the most when they've had a prominent career.
And what happens in your world is it keeps you on top of what's going on in the industry.
Right.
You get a chance to go to conferences, maybe even be a guest speaker at conferences. You get a chance to find out the cutting edge changes, the techniques, technical processes that are happening in your industry, and you stay relevant. And that is important when people come up to you and say, hey, Jeff, listen, I've been thinking, I've got a question, or what do you think about? You look around and you go, you know what, thank you. I've been teaching youngsters for so many years. I've been working on, and now I'm important again to these folks. So that's important to what we see. And if you can, I want you to meet with your tax preparer, you meet with your financial advisor, your attorney, CPA, whoever it might be, and say, should I consider having an LLC or a corporation? So hiring yourself. So now when you freelance, they're not paying you as an individual, they're paying your corporation. Now your corporation can have benefits. It can write off its cell phone if it's used for work or business. Your car, gasoline, meals, entertainment, anything that fits down the road that you're using it for the furtherance of your business, you now have tax write-offs with pre-tax money. So you could earn less money and still put more in your pocket because you're paying for many things in a pre-tax scenario. But as I mentioned, check with your tax preparer or your CPA, because I don't know where you'll fit in that and what your individual scenario would be, but it's certainly a good shot. And by the way, the retirement plans that you are allowed to open as an individual that owns an LLC, so in other words, you're being paid as a consultant, not as a sole proprietor, but through an LLC, could be much, much greater in benefit to you. Okay, so we can always help you with that if you have any questions. Okay, what if you just did what you did before retirement, as we were mentioning, but you just worked part-time?
Well, and it's kind of in the same vein as being a consultant, because by definition, you're going back to the same job or that same type of industry. You could just semi-retire. You could say, hey, look, I'm going to take a step back. Instead of working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, as some of us do, what if you work 15 or 20 and you just check in a few days a week, kind of keep the same situation? Maybe your benefits, you'd have to take a look at what the benefits might be. Maybe you're not contributing to a pension, or maybe you're not qualifying for the health insurance or any of those things, but you're still going to work, you're still trading your time for doing what you hopefully love, and you're making some money doing it in the process.
And we've seen this time and again where you might be in an industry that is related to some sort of academic, some sort of research. Maybe there are studies that you can be involved with where you can go out, work through a UC college, some Cal States, but in California we created two separate institutions. A Cal State system was specific for teaching of the arts, preparing people to work in industry and in jobs, and the UC system was built as a research facility or a research institution, so that there were different purposes. Why have two of the same? Well, they don't. At least originally they weren't intended to be that way. So they had two different tracks. One was more of a research, one was more of an education and a liberal arts type of an educational institution. But you could be involved with those, and today it doesn't even have to be in the local arena. You can work with research institutes across the country. Now, granted, a lot of the crazy waste of money things like watching a shrimp run on a treadmill, right? Remember that? Unbelievable.
Wait, where can I find that?
Yeah, that's $1 million. I think it was $1 million grant, if I remember right, to some college. In the last 8 years or so, 8 of the last 9 years, dollars were being dished out to educational institutions. Now, you might be upset at Donald Trump for whatever he's doing and saying, and certainly you may have great cause for that. But you have to look at back. The last administration had 0 in their cabinet that were business. 0 out of the more than 24 had 0 business. So where did they come from? None of them had ever written a paycheck. They've always signed it. So where did they come from? They came from education. They were professors. They were academic provosts and institutional instructors. Well, what did that mean? Where did the administration spend money? Back in the educational world. So they gave money to colleges and universities. So of course they liked the left more than they liked the right, because they were getting massive grants and dollars were being funneled from federal dollars to educational institutions across the country. And that goes directly to their bottom line, because then they can hire more professors. They don't have to pay for them because federal grant pays for them. And so today you're not going to have that as much, because Donald Trump, nearly everybody in his administration, in his cabinet, are business owners or have been business owners. So a lot of their money's going towards business. It's not this like, oh, some secret society of devil worship. No, folks, it's really basic, right? They think business is the way to go. The previous administration felt education was the way to go. Today, my opinion is you can learn anything about anything from an education, or at least from a knowledge standpoint, for free, right? Right here on your phone, on your tablet. So what used to happen was the educational institutions were the place that had all of this knowledge. It was the ivory towers. It was the Ivy League, and it's not because there's ivy growing. It's because it's the fourth institutions of colleges, right? IV, one before Greek numerals.
I really thought they had ivy all over the
Yeah,
building.
did you know that? No. Yeah. So it happens to be because they were the fourth district, or the fourth, I'll remember it in a minute, the right term, but the fourth region. So IV, that's why it's called Ivy League. And so basically the point is you have a group of colleges and institutions that used to have a main purpose, and that was we would mortgage our house. You would save for your life to send that one child, and usually it's the boy, and you send him off to college. And we all checked our watch. We all worked in the farm and the factory, and we waited and we waited. And we said, when that oldest son returns, he will have knowledge. And he comes back, and we say, hey, what did you find out? And he looks around and he says, let me tell you, the world is different. You're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. Because everybody else basically went to an 8th grade, maybe a high school education. Certainly if you were a young woman, you never went to college back then, right? Barely graduated high school. Today, they're still fighting the old war, meaning more than half of all college graduates, women. More than half, in fact, sometimes closer to 60% of some universities are women. More than half of the highest paying jobs are women. My personal practice, you guys, my personal practice, 40% of the last 3 years, which is what I've been tracking, of our clients, husband and wives, where both of them work, the wife makes more than the husband. 40%.
That's high, yeah.
In other words, it's not this whole 90% of it. It's crazy. And in fact, we've had months where nearly all of the women in a husband-wife scenario, were earning more income than their husband. And I know you hear these statistics that women are this, and we got to help them, and I get it. I have a daughter and sisters and a mom and a wife, and I appreciate that. But when you're spending money in an educational institution down to fix a problem that isn't a problem anymore, and today you can now find knowledge on your laptop. You can now have knowledge about anything, anywhere, anytime. Now, why are your kids taking student loans? Why are you as a parent signing off on student loans in your 50s or some in your 60s for your kids to go get what? And then they make up this thing. I heard this from a relative the other day. I want them to have the college experience. I get it. Okay, but what does that mean? You just are parroting what you heard. What does that mean, a college experience? I'm okay, but what does that mean? And when I ask that, lovingly, of course, you ask, what does that mean? They say, well, I want them to have friends and move away from home. And, okay, I got all that. He's 18 years old. Have you talked to him about premarital sex? Have you talked to him about drinking alcohol? Have you talked to him about hanging out and selecting his friends properly? Because it's too late. It's over.
Yeah.
17, 18, 19 years old, they're gone. You don't have an opportunity to have a conversation anymore about those things. So you should have done it when they're 10, 11, 12, 14, 15. Because if the college experience is about going away for education, I get it. But don't borrow money for it. Never. Because the knowledge doesn't come with wisdom. It only comes with knowledge. And if you want knowledge, you can find it for free on your cell phone. If you want wisdom, you better have worked on that for years. And you still are going to be stuck with them making their own decisions because they're people. So be very careful if you're going to be sending your money to these institutions that, in my opinion, are becoming antiquated and are the next dominoes to fall. There is no question that $1.3 billion in student loan, trillion dollars, 1.3 trillion with a T, in student loan dollars, where we are now at hundreds of billions in defaults. There are some people, they say about 12%, so it's about $180 billion, where people just are, if I close my eyes, it's not really happening. Like when you were a kid, right? You'd hide in the closet, close your eyes, they open the door, you're like, hey, you don't see me. You don't see me, I'm hiding. I'm under the blankie.
Except they forget who the debt collector is on those.
That's right. Who's the debt collector? Who is it, Jeffrey?
IRS.
Those are three initials that I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
So you're telling me the IRS is a debt collector. Aren't they going to forget because they're busy?
Yeah, they're so busy.
Yeah.
But they have these little systems in place. Like, oh, you thought you were going to get a tax refund this year?
Oh, so
Sorry.
close.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So close.
And you know what? If it takes them 30 years to get it back, they'll get it back.
That's right. And by the way, you have interest, fees, late penalties. And the great news is, because I don't want you to worry too much about the IRS and the federal government, the great news is when you retire and you're collecting Social Security, do you know that the IRS has permission, does it? They are currently doing it with tens of thousands of Social Security recipients. They seize your Social Security check because you didn't pay your student loan money or the parent loans that you signed and co-signed for.
Yep.
And your 26-year-old who sleeps in, sleeps in until noon or thinks working 20 hours a week is a lot to ask because their creativity is being hampered. And you say, wait a second, I've got to clean what? No, thank you. I'm not going to. You don't know who I am. I've got a college degree in English, the arts. Okay, great. Well, that still means you got to work, mister. 2 out of 4 clients I met with at my Glendale office yesterday, 2 out of 4 have kids, and they seem to be sons. I think we have cut the young men. There's a great book now on the war on boys, how we've talked about how we've undermined and undercut young men, where it used to be shameful to not have a job. It used to be shameful to sleep on your parents' couch. It used to be shameful. You would hide it if you were a lazy son of a gun and you didn't brush your hair and you didn't keep a well-kept beard. It used to be shameful if your clothes didn't match. Probably not as much, but... And today, these young people, listen, I love y'all. I have 3 of them. But I can tell you, there is no free ride. And you think that these institutions of higher learning are a place to send your kids, and you're going to go into debt for it. Folks, I'm telling you, it ruins your retirement. Be very careful. I don't care if they're going to be a physician or a dentist. They have to take on some responsibility. Maybe it's their own debt. Maybe they just work for 5 years and save up and then go back to school. I don't know. I wasn't born into a family that had a $100,000 student loan bank account, a student education college fund bank account waiting for me.
Right.
I had to work 3 jobs, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. I slept in my car. I get it. Oh, Arif, you're so... No, listen, if I came home and I saw my dad work his fanny off and he comes home and he's tired and I had my feet up, do you know how embarrassed I felt? That I was the man of the house, a young man? And how dare I eat the food and live in the house when this man works and he's gone from morning till night? You guys, you have to instill that, and I hope it's not too late for your 26-year-old. But there should be a break coming up, because isn't there a new version of Call of Duty coming out? So there's time to learn that.
I would
We'll
imagine.
be back in just a minute. Arif Halaby and Jeff Gerard, Total Financial Solutions, Save for Money Hour. Hey, there are some things that you can do when you retire to make sure you can earn extra money, whether or not you have to pay for your kids' college, you have to pay some debt, or just have something to do. I think purpose is very important. We'll be right back on your hometown station, KHTS.
Comfort Keepers provides your loved one with loving in-home care.
Miles McNamara, certified senior advisor and owner of Comfort Keepers in-home care.
Our caregivers can help you in your own home, enhancing independence, creating safety and comfort. Our Comfort Keepers provide companionship, meal preparation, medication reminders, assistance with personal care, and even transportation to doctor's appointments. If someone you love can use a helping hand at home, visit comfortkeepers.com.
Or call 287-4200.
Men, are you feeling tired, stressed, or just don't have the energy you used to? Did you know this could be related to decreased testosterone levels? Luckily, there's a safe, effective solution. Weeder Prime helps support healthy testosterone levels with clinically tested key ingredients. Just 2 capsules of Weeder Prime each day can help change your mood, energy, focus, body fat, and lean muscle. Feel the way you felt 10, 20, even 30 years ago. Rediscover your Prime with Weeder Prime. To find a retailer near you, visit WeederPrime.com. That's WEIDER Prime.com.
Moving Day North Los Angeles, a walk for Parkinson's, is coming up April 28th at Valencia Heritage Park. More than just a walk. Moving Day is a fun and inspiring fundraising event that celebrates exercise and unites the community in the fight against Parkinson's disease. Let's get moving. Join the Parkinson's Foundation for Moving Day North Los Angeles, Saturday, April 28th. Register today at movingdaynorthla.org.
Satisfy your sweet tooth with a bite of sweet perfection from Nothing Bundt Cakes in Valencia. Their decadent cakes are ideal for your next birthday, anniversary, baby shower, wedding, holiday party, and more. Nothing Bundt Cakes makes their treats readily available without compromising quality. You can expect real butter and cream cheese, fresh eggs, and lots of love in each of their 10 luscious flavors. To order your own sweet treat, visit their Valencia Bakery in the Whole Foods Shopping Center or log on to nothingbundcakes.com.
Santa Clarita Valley has a long history of safe, reliable water service. SCV Water is dedicated to increasing efficiencies, protecting our vital resources, and improving their customers' experiences. That's you. Meet them at their new home on the web at yourscvwater.com. There, you can find the latest news, rebates, and much more. That's yourscvwater.com. They can't wait to serve you.
Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Now FM 98.1 FM and AM 1220. Your hometown station.
This is your place for news, talk, and information, your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Hey, welcome back to the show, Total Financial Solutions, Save for Money Hour. A little fired up about just the scam that I call student loans. You've heard me talk about it, I don't know, for only 14 out of the 14 years that we've been on the radio.
Just a minute.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Only because I think you bought something that was a scam. Now, listen, I don't think the college was a scam. I don't think, the educational opportunities, I don't think that was a scam. I think the scam was that it was easy to pay it back. The scam was, don't you worry your pretty little head. I wouldn't let you come and buy furniture in my store if I didn't check out whether or not you could pay.
Right.
Or a laptop computer from my computer store if you couldn't pay. Why would I not say, listen, you're going to get a degree in the life cycle of an onion and its ability to rehydrate the soil in eastern sub-Saharan Africa, just north of the equator but south of the Chiclets. You would say that was crazy.
Right.
Why would I give you money for that? There's 8 people that want to learn that. So, all right, some more part-time jobs. What else can you do? My favorite of all time.
Government jobs, I mean, they seem to be some of the more sought-after positions, right? I mean, because you feel like there's some security there. Maybe it's a little bit of an undertaking to get hired, but once you do, we see a lot less age discrimination than we do in some of the private sector jobs that are out there. But government jobs, I mean, they come with great benefits by and large. Even if you're working part-time, you might hit a certain threshold to where you qualify for some benefits. And in my example earlier in the show, the lady I was speaking with that was retired for many years, one of the jobs that she went back to is a government job. So a city job, right? So you don't have to think of, the federal government, but think of municipalities, cities, state, county. There are tons and tons of jobs out there, and you can see the listings go on and on and on. But these are great because you have the ability to get into a place that is a solid career field, and it could be a second calling for you. I mean, Arif, one of your clients, I think you've told the story, has 4 pensions, right? Because he's got different governmental pensions.
Yeah, I think it's 5 actually, because
5,
he was in the U.S. Air Force Reserve for 25 years, all the way back to Vietnam and through his working years. He worked for police department, so he had a 20-year pension from them, or 25 years from them. Then he went to work for the water and power, which I don't know back today. I think it is the same. But back then he only had to work 10 years and 10 minutes, and he got a pension from them.
There you go.
Surprise, city of L.A. Wonder why your water and power rates are so high. Number 3... So it was water. Was the state of California. You only had to work 5 years for the Department of Motor Vehicles. The state of California, you only have to work 5 years. So if you are retired and your pension is sub what it needs to be, consider working for the state of California. It might be a 20% pension or 15 or 25 or something, but it's significant. So he has the DMV pension. And then he gets Social Security.
There you go.
So I don't know exactly the number off the top of my head. I think it's somewhere around $9,000 or $10,000 a month when you add it all up.
Wow.
Yeah, not
great.
bad.
Well, and consider if you've worked in the private sector or in any place for 20 or 30 years and then you retire and you're done with that, you might be 50 years old. I have a young friend that started working for the city of Burbank, painting the light posts and the curbs, and he's graduated and worked his way up. He's already been there, I would say almost 10 years. So he'll be in his 40s when he's ready to retire. I met another person that worked for FedEx. He's just met at the gas station, and he said he was retiring, 43 years old, retiring from a courier. So there you go.
And that's
There's
FedEx, right?
FedEx. There's a young person that gets to go on to the next thing.
I'm all for that if it's a private company. I'm all for private companies. They want to give you, I don't know, what is it called? Casual Fridays?
Yeah.
And Pizza Wednesdays. They can do whatever they want. It's a private company. I'm okay with that. What I don't like is when governmental agencies, their only purpose for revenue is to tax those that are working.
Yeah.
That's a very difficult scenario when you're trying to give away great benefits and the people that are actually working don't actually have a pension, yet they've got to pay money out of their pocket so that those people can get a paycheck. It's not a very appealing thing when you're in retirement. You go, why am I paying taxes again? And California is the worst offender, by far the worst offender. So you've heard me talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's another one. And we see this again with seasonal work, right? If you are a retiree and you're looking for seasonal work, just this morning we were looking at unemployment numbers. Right now we're somewhere in the 4% range, meaning that, statistically speaking, we are at full employment. Everybody who wants a job gets a job right now. I know almost everybody that I know in the business world that are clients or friends, almost 100% of them are looking for work, looking for people to work for them. They cannot find employees. They're having to raise the wages. They're having to give better benefits, which is what we want, right? We want employees to have a chance to shop. The last thing you want to do is to think as an employee you're stuck. You're an indentured servant, right? This is important. If you have a job and you don't like the job, don't protest. Go get another job.
Right.
You don't like your pay, go get another job. This isn't a place where you're required. You're not a slave. You're not obligated to work for them come heck or high water. You have options. You have choices. Well, if it's just not right, it's not fair, legal wages. Listen, the only reason minimum wage was created to go up, do you understand this? The only reason minimum wage was pushed higher was because there are mandatory taxes that you have to pay. It has nothing to do with the employee, because otherwise you would give them training. Don't give them minimum wage, give them free training so they'll go worth more money. So they're worth more because they can do more and produce more. So when you take minimum wage and you go from $10 to $15 an hour, that means there's a 50% increase in their workers' comp, which means insurance companies win, in their payroll taxes, which means Social Security and the state of California and the federal government and state disability. All of those governmental agencies win, and the insurance companies. The last administration, take a look at the Obamacare / Affordable Care Act. Take a look at it. Who did it benefit? Not the citizens. It benefited the insurance companies. It was an insurance company bailout. That's all it was. It was a bribe to tell them, keep rates low enough, just low enough, for just a little bit of period of time, which we are now over that time, and next year we'll be completely done with it. And then we'll let the market go. So that's the reason that I have to pay $3,200 a month. $3,200 a month for Anthem Blue Cross PPO. Not for my company, but for me. You cannot tell me, there's no way in the world you can tell me that that was a good plan, the Affordable Care Act. It hurts people. So companies are willing to hire people that fall below that requirement to give them benefits. So now companies that used to have unlimited, hey, workers, and now they're required to give certain benefits, they're just going to say, we're not going to hire that many people. I see it. I had a friend that had 53 employees. He laid off 4 of them so he could fall below the 49 number. So then he was not required to buy the insurance plan that they required. He said, Arif, it's easier for me to pay overtime. So the ones that stayed were happy. They're like, yay, more work, more money. The 4 that left happened to be of many. 4 that supported the Obamacare, we should have it, it should make it. I don't think he laid him off for that reason, but he let him off. He laid him off, and he said, listen, I can't afford this because sometimes things are tough. Minimum wage, take a look at Jack in the Box, McDonald's, take a look at the fast food restaurants. How many workers are working there? Less people. So if you are willing to do seasonal work where they do not have to pay you these benefits, where they are not required to put you on the unemployment, the pension plan, they're not required to pay for your health insurance, then you have a pretty good shot at getting a job part-time, even if it's seasonal. You know, pumpkins for Halloween and Christmas decoration, that's the traditional. But there's amazing seasonal opportunities at campgrounds during the summer and lakes during the summer. So you can bounce around from place to place and job to job and enjoy your life. Because over here off to the side, you took care of your food, shelter, clothing, with your pension, with your retirement savings, with your IRAs, with your 401ks, and you were protecting it. That's a very smart move, because then you're not required to have to work and look for a job with the benefits that you think, because they're getting fewer out there since the requirements are pretty significant.
Well, and you also get to choose your scenery. I mean, you're talking about camps, talking about lakes. Heck, you could work on the beach, be a lifeguard, or work. I would pick up trash on the beach if that was a job. Oh, wait, it is. Look at that, because I like the ocean. So there are things like that. And like you said, Arif, when you take care of your food, shelter, clothing with your savings habits over your lifetime of working, then you just created a bunch of choices for yourself.
That's right.
Because you may not have liked the view out of your office for the last 20 years, but guess what? You get to choose another job now because everything else is taken care of.
And that is a very important part to your health and your purpose in life. You know, there are folks, you see them with the motorhomes, and they sell Christmas trees, and they sell pumpkins and these lots.
Yep.
And that's what they do. They travel around. And they might make a few $1,000s, maybe enough to pay for their fuel in their RV for the rest of the year.
Yep.
You have a little bit of security job to do, right? You got to make sure nobody comes in and steals the stuff that's left behind. But there's certainly things that you can do that make it fun. Camp host, we've talked about that before. Camp host at a lot of these campgrounds at different lakes, Kachuma and Castaic doesn't have a full-time camp, but you could be at some of the different camps up and down the coast through California. And this, I think Piru has it, where you are allowed to park your car at Refugio Beach or the campground, park your RV, free space rent, free water, free electricity.
Nice.
Sometimes they pay you a couple $100. But what do you have to do? I've seen it where we have clients that are husband and wife. The husband will often chop firewood and go, tell people to turn their music down and check people in and do a little round in his golf cart. And the wife usually works 10, 15, 20 hours a week, checking people in at the front desk and giving directions and whatever she has to do. But meanwhile, the rest of the week,
Nice.
they're there.
Yeah.
Kind of fun. I mean, you see upper middle income folks doing this where they rent out their home. It either gives them a source of income if it's paid off, or your home is allowed to have itself pay for itself while you're gone for a year or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And you enjoy life up and down the coast, staying in different campgrounds and enjoying. For some, that's considered retirement / work, a dream come true.
Sure.
So those are important things.
How about getting paid to travel the country? There was a doctor who sold his small practice in Central California. He and his wife became truck drivers. They worked for a company, and it was you had to have 2 people sign up, so he and his wife signed up. And you think that's kind of crazy to go from a doctor to being a truck driver, but he sold his practice, had some some residuals from that, and that took care of his means, right? And then he also got paid to travel the country and make trips up and down the west and even out to the east coast if he chooses. So kind of a cool thing.
Well, we had a client that was a physician who became a doctor because his father really wanted him to be a doctor. I mean, he'll tell you that's the reason.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And he had 3 practices, Beverly Hills on Wilshire Boulevard, in Hollywood, and in the San Fernando Valley. Very successful in his field because his family suffered from the ailment that he was treating. He had a personal connection and a personal desire to fix it. Yeah. His dad passes away. He pays off his student loans. The son eventually pays off the student loans. And at 44 years old, he sold everything and moved down to Nicaragua to develop real estate because he always wanted to be a real estate developer. So that's what he did at a young age because he felt like after his dad passed away, he could afford to do it. And for him, paying off the student loans and saving some money and having some investment dollars. Mm-hmm. So it's a pretty... Don't think because you're in a box, if I always have done this, so I always have to do this, or I went to school for that, so I have to stay in that field. That's not the way it is anymore. People are changing. How about this, Jeff? We see, like my high school, government and U.S. history professor, or I guess we call them teachers, used to work at Dodger Stadium. Huh. I remember looking back behind the counter, and I would see him flipping hamburgers. And the first time it was a shock to me because I didn't think teachers had to work summer. I didn't get it. I was a high school student. Yeah. And I look and I'm like, wait a second. That's Mr. So-and-so. And he's out there flipping, putting hamburger or hot dogs up front. So there's seasonal work, but there's also work with your favorite sports teams. And they love it because there is no place for Staples Center to employ you full time. There's no place for Dodger Stadium or the Nokia Center to employ you full time. There just isn't enough work. But there is a place where you can enjoy life. You get to see a game and whatever rules they have. You can come to so many games per week, per year. In addition to that, being a docent at your favorite museum, or if you like the Peterson Automotive Museum, or you like the Natural History Museum, or working for the theater. My mom did that for quite some time over at COC Performing Arts Center. I want to say it was at least 5 years. Where, they would wear their black outfit with a white shirt, and they would check your tickets, and they would stand in the hallways and kind of make sure you stayed out of trouble and guided you to your seat and all the stuff you were supposed to do. But they got to see the performances. And they had an amazing opportunity to enjoy that part of life, still be relevant, still be important, still socialize, still have somebody expect you to be there. We're counting on you. Can you work tomorrow? Can you fill in for me next week? And that adds to that value of who you are as a person. We're going to come back in just a second. We're going to continue with some part-time jobs for retirement. We're going to review some things that I think can really make a difference in what you're trying to achieve when it comes to the purpose. People have a retirement account value. They need to have a retirement value for purpose when we come back. Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. I'm Arif Halaby, and that's Jeff Gerard on your place for news, talk, and information. This is KHTS, your hometown station.
You worry because your mom and dad aren't as active and are finding it more challenging to live on their own. The answer? Premier Assisted Living Community, Oakmont of Santa Clarita, now leasing. Located on Newhall Ranch Road, Oakmont of Santa Clarita, bringing comfort and luxury to assisted living. Your parents can enjoy 5-star amenities and panoramic views in a world-class community. No other assisted living community has this kind of luxury and amenities in our valley. Visit oakmontofsantaclarita.com.
Hey, all you savvy style seekers, extraordinary deals on designer brands await you at the outlets at Tejon. Find the latest fashion and accessories at Michael Kors, H&M, Levi's Outlet Store, Coach, and Calvin Klein. Shop for the whole family at Gap Outlet, American Eagle Outfitters, Oshkosh B'gosh, and Nike Factory Store. Even style your home with Pottery Barn Outlet and Le Creuset. All at amazing everyday value you won't find anywhere else. Join our VIP club today to receive your free coupon brochure filled with hundreds of dollars in additional savings. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or visit TejonOutlets.com for the latest sales and events. Your must-shop stop is located just 40 minutes north on I-5.
Shop spring style value on a budget. The best trends of the season have arrived at an unbelievable value of up to 65% off every day. Find fashionable flats, flowy tops, and floral dresses at over 60 brand name stores. Visit TejonOutlets.com for a complete list of stores and sales.
The Santa Clarita Artists Association has a new gallery in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Main and Railroad, right across from the Canyon Theater Guild. The gallery features our members' paintings, sculptures, and one-of-a-kind handcrafted gift items. Whether you're an art lover, buyer, or an artist wishing to join, visit our website at santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming events and exhibits, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
Indulge yourself in the world of wine at the 6th Annual Sierra Pelona Valley Wine Festival, Saturday, April 21st from noon till 4 p.m., benefiting the Zonta Club of SCV. Get your Chardonnay on with live music, gourmet food, handmade crafts, and the best local wine Santa Clarita has to offer at Reyes Winery. Dionysus Dilettantes and wine connoisseurs alike will enjoy this festival. Sponsored by Reyes Winery, Pepsi, Anheuser-Busch, main stage sponsor SCV Advanced Audiology, and VIP sponsors California Bank and Trust and Mercedes-Benz of Valencia. Visit ReyesWinery.com to purchase tickets.
You might not know the difference between a fade, a pompadour, a cropped fringe, or faux mohawk, but the Sport Clips Guys Smart Stylists sure do. We know you don't think about haircuts 24/7. That's Sport Clips' job. That's why Sport Clips specializes in haircuts for men and boys. Sport Clips has turned something you have to do into something you want to do. You don't ever need an appointment at Sport Clips, and you'll walk out feeling like an MVP. Guaranteed. Sport Clips at the Santa Clarita location nearest you.
Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Now FM 98.1 FM and AM 1220. Your hometown station.
Thanks for listening to your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Welcome back to the show, the Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour. Okay, we're finishing up this hour of the program. Thanks for staying with us and allowing us to, educate you a little bit, talk about things that you probably, just guessing, probably aren't getting at school, at home, in your prior educational life. Certainly not if you look at the mainstream media, because the purpose of the mainstream media is to transfer an agenda versus making sense. What I care about is logic, math. It's fairly simple. 1 + 1 is 2, whether you feel like it's 6. You've heard me say this, Jeff. 1 + 1 is 2. Whether Common Core from our local district believes that it's 15 and that there's 17 different answers that you can. Folks, the king has no clothes. Go back and read that story where nobody wanted to say anything because they didn't want to upset the king and, go to the shackles. So everybody pretended that up was down and left was right and green was blue. And as long as we just pretended, we all just smiled, and we just, social justice. And then that's it. That's it. It used to be you were called other names. Today, it's a racist. As soon as I can call you a racist, it's over.
Yeah.
The only reason you think we should have no minimum wage is because you are racist. The only reason I think that people should not have student loans because you're a racist. Okay. Then the conversation's over. When you lose the argument based on facts, you have to go to this mind space where you forget that you have spent a lifetime of learning. Don't let other people tell you that it was all wrong or that it was upside down, or you have knowledge. Just because you have gray hair or you're a little older or you can't really understand how to put together an Excel spreadsheet. I'm just speaking for me. I know how to read them. I just found out what a cell was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a column.
Ish.
So close.
You were very close, sir.
It was the thing. It was the item.
I want to talk about, go back to what you said earlier, when you've taken care of, because we're talking about part-time work for retirees. There's something that I have an affinity for, and it's airplanes. I love aviation. I loved, when I was much younger, working for a private company that handled all the corporate jets. We even got a little taste of the commercial side as well, doing refueling and servicing. It was a wonderful thing. The only problem that I saw was it was only good for the kids that were trying to either become pilots or they had another job or they lived at home, because it didn't pay very much. And we were called ramp rats, I guess, back in that
rats,
because we were always running around the ramp and the tarmac. And it was a heck of a lot of fun. And there was a mild danger component, I guess, if you didn't have common sense or you didn't put safety first. But we had a great time out there and built a camaraderie, and there's a big group of guys. The only thing that I couldn't do was support a growing family on that very close to minimum wage job at the time. But I'll tell you, back to what you said earlier, when you have something that's taken care of whether it's a pension or multiple sources of income or your savings, has taken care of your food, shelter, clothing, and you're looking for something fun, go back and do that thing that you said you always wanted to do, that you just couldn't afford to do it. That's what I would do.
I love it, whether it's art, whether it's music. We have a client who played in a band when they were in high school and even a little bit in college, and is pretty darn good. I mean, to me, I like the music. I think he's pretty good. But he went into a completely different field because he had a family, had to figure out, to make to be a grown up, but still has kept that hobby alive. And when he retires, that's his goal, is to just play music just for fun. So that his life is not going to be about having to work for money like all of us have to do, but my money is being taken care of. Listen, the reason I wanted to have some sort of financial success in my life wasn't because I wanted fancy stuff. There's a lot of people that want to be rich or have financial success because their goal is to buy cars, houses, planes, whatever. That's fine. My goal was so that I didn't have to live like a broke person. So that my mom didn't have to not eat dinner because all of us kids would sit around and for some reason she just wasn't hungry again. And for some reason, as 4 teenagers and whatever cousins and neighbor kids were around, would sit at our dining room table, because if you were there for dinner, our rule was you were asked to stay and eat. Not all of them did, but most of the time they did. And so when you think, oh, I want to buy a fancy house, car, that's all great. But wouldn't it be nice to never have to worry about food? Wouldn't it be nice to never have to worry about being evicted from your house? Wouldn't it be nice to never have to worry about your electricity being shut off? Right? I can't tell you that wasn't my childhood, because there were moments when all of those things were a concern. So understand, you need to start saving today. And don't look at just the traditional, everybody goes into the 401k at work. If that's the only thing you can do, that's the only thing you can do. But I don't want you to think that that's your only option, because there are things you can do to set aside money for the future. We like safer retirement options. I like guarantees. I like getting out of the stock market with some or part of your money. I like making sure you're not putting it all on red, if you will, at risk at the casino, because people do that. You have no idea what stocks, bonds, mutual funds. People just buy them. You can't tell me anything about those companies. And yet, people will expect the money to be there when they retire because they just believe that it will be. Well, 1 + 1 is 2. Whether you believe it's 6 or 8, it doesn't matter. So you better not live on belief. You better live with intention, with purpose, not just for your life, but for your money. And Total Financial Solutions is about that. We're about keeping some or part of your retirement in a safe place. We're about using fixed and guaranteed products. We're about staying away from the craziness of the market for the money that you absolutely need. Because while you are working, your food, shelter, clothing comes from your job. Simple, right? Comes from your job. So your assets, your retirement accounts can go up and down. That's fine. But when you transition, so your income now comes from, some or part of it, from your retirement assets, you can't afford to say, hey guys, we've had the worst stock market in a long time, and in March, so, electric bill, I'm going to pay you 30% less because I took a 30% loss in my stocks. Well, how's that going to work out for you?
Not well.
You can't do that. So don't be somebody who thinks that life is about one direction, which is only the markets can go up or the markets can only make you money. That's not how it works. Sometimes you can lose. Sometimes you can lose your life savings. Look around. Ask people. Ask folks that were preparing for retirement 10 years ago who are still working today because they don't have a choice, not because they do have a choice. Right? So there's options that you have, and our goal is to keep you protected. So that's an important part of it.
Well, I just like to rest on the analogy of golf. You can spend the entire 18 rounds building a score and trying to keep that score low, but it only takes one hole to blow up, and then the whole scorecard's basically shot. So
yeah,
think about that when it comes to your finances. Taking those unnecessary risks, they're not usually worth it.
It's always the end that can make the biggest difference.
That's right.
Certainly there's a pathway to get there, but the end, the last 5 years of retirement, first 5 years in retirement, that's a fairly risky time in your life that big mistakes can't be made up. So be very careful. Listen, you can always go to TFS, stands for Total Financial Solutions, tfswealth.com, or you can give us a call at 888-99-RETIRE. That's 888-99-RETIRE. That's our number. I'm Arif Halaby, and that's Jeff Gerard. Thanks for listening to your hometown station. This is the Total Financial Hour on your place for news, talk, and information, KHTS.
KHTS, AM 1220 and 98.1.